Hello and welcome to this example on loops. We're using Python, okay, and Python has two loops available to us. We have the while loop and the for loop. We have a couple of variations on the for loop. We do not have a do while loop, and that is okay because if you want to do while, you can prime the while loop and do it once before the loop, and then do it repeatedly in the loop, however many times the loop governs that to do. So a do while is not required. You can do everything with the while loop. You can actually do everything a for loop can do in a while loop. You just have to write the extra code for that. So let's have a look at the while loop first. Okay, so I've set this variable I'm calling cookie. I'm going to pass out some cookies to my friends. Okay. So while cookie is greater than 0, because I can't pass the cookies out once I reach 0, I'm going to decrement my cookie. That is in the opposite of increment. All right, I'm going to decrement by 1. So cookie minus equals 1. And then I'm going to print cookie. That's how I'm handing out cookies. I'm handing out digital cookies that are just the word cookie. And so I'll do this until the value of cookie gets to 0, starting at 6. Okay, and then, so that's what the while loop is going to do. And I don't want to run this just yet. I want to talk about the other loops I have in here first. Okay, so I have a for loop for x, and x is a variable that's not been defined anywhere else. So x exists in this for loop for now. For x in range, and range is this function here, and it takes, it can take 1, 2, or 3 values. I'm using all 3 values. So the first value is the start, the second value is the stop, and the third value is the step. The default step is 1, so if I only had 2 values in here, it would be the start and the stop. And then if I only had 1 value in here, that would be the count, okay? So then that's going to print x equals, and it's going to actually show me what x is equal to. So x is actually going to start at 0 and go up to, it's going to go up to 9, I think. We'll find out. And then this last one is, it's the same for loop, but it actually is going to operate like a for each. So I've given it an array of items. This is an array of items, okay, array of strings, and there are a bunch of foods that I like. I like all these food, chips and cake, and tacos and coffee and ice cream, okay. I eat all those, not every day and not at the same meal, but I do eat all of them. And so I'm calling a variable called items. It does not need to exist prior to this. I've created it for this for loop. And then when I print items inside the for loop, each time the loop iterates through, the variable items will equal the next thing in the array. So the first time it will equal chips, and then it will equal cake, and then it will equal tacos. So it's going to print out all of those things one at a time. This is very useful when you want to access an array. Okay, so let's print this out, or let's run this, and all 3 of them are going to print something out, and we'll see what they do, and we'll count through each one and see if it printed out the number of times we expected. So the first one prints out cookies, and I assume it's going to print out 6 cookies. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That is correct. It started at 6, and when it got to 0, it stopped. It didn't do an extra one at 0. It stopped at 0. Okay, so we got 6. And then the next one, we start at 0, we go to 10, and we count by 2s. So I assume it's going to do 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. We can see that the value of x each time started at 0, and it indeed counted by 2s. And when it got to the last value of 10, it did not execute one more time. It says, oh, you're equal to 10, we're done. The loop doesn't execute, it exits before executing that final time. So you will get exactly 5 times. And then for the last for loop, the items in this array, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 items in the array, and each item does get printed 1 time. There's nothing extra in the front, there's nothing extra in the rear, I didn't skip any of them. It does each one 1 time, no more or no less. Right? So those are 2 of the arrays, but I have 2 options for the for loop. Okay, and we don't always have to use the while loop counting up. We can count down, as I have in my example. We can count up, and we don't have to always count by 1. But you do have to remember in the while loop to have some sort of condition that will eventually cause the loop to break and come out of the loop. If you don't do that, you run the risk of, well, if you don't do it, you are going to have an infinite loop. If you don't ever break the loop, it will stay inside that loop through infinity. So if I were to comment this line of code out and I say cookie equals 6, while cookie is greater than 0, just keep on printing cookie. It will do that, and it will never ever stop until either I end the program with the task manager, or that my computer crashes or goes to sleep, or whatever happens. It will just run forever. Depending on what kind of actions in here, I could be allocating memory, and so this will run until the entire memory of the computer fills up. That's actually an interesting experiment. If you want to just see how many integers you can create before your memory fills up, you can do that. But if you do that, your program is just going to run indefinitely until perhaps the program or your computer crashes. So I don't want to do that. I want my while loop to only execute 6 times like it's supposed to. The for loop with a range, okay, do keep in mind that I can actually access, and I have accessed, this x variable inside the loop. So potentially I could change that variable in the loop and either cause it to exit early, or cause it to exit later, or cause it maybe to never exit and create an infinite loop again. Okay, and in this loop, there's less of a chance because I'm iterating through an array, and so you're much less likely to run into the infinite loop in this last example. And there you have it. 3 loops, 3 examples. Thanks for watching.